Folks and friends, welcome back to Laravel News Podcast, episode 248. Today is Tuesday, the 18th of November. We have been on a bit of a hiatus, but Michael, it is really good to see your face and purple hair once again, my friend. How are you?
Good, yeah. Slowly coming back to reality. I had the week off last week for Laracon AU, and then I had Monday I had booked off as a extra day just to decompress, which ended up being a day of grocery shopping and laundry. So then I took another day off yesterday because we had like a week's worth of laundry to do, and it was like my laundry, Ree's laundry, both kids' laundry. So it was just.
Now, did the whole family go with you? Did you take everybody with?
Yeah. All four of us went.
Nice. Wow, that's an undertaking.
And then my sister-in-law came as well, just to give Rhea a hand on the conference days. So yeah, we got there Monday afternoon, hung out for a bit, did a bit of had to get some groceries so that the kids had food for the week, and then Monday night we had dinner with some of the speakers and some people that got in early, and then Tuesday we went to the Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary with a few people that were there early. Tuesday we had dinner. Wednesday was all venue set up and tech.
Did you see any drop bears?
We did see quite a few drop bears actually, but they were fortunately sleeping during the day, so no one was harmed.
Good thing.
By any drop bears. But yeah, all of it I think went really well. I think we went extremely overboard with this year's intro video, which I'll have to reshare at some stage as well if you haven't seen it already. It was the ability that we were able to like leverage AI to the extent that we could put together a 4.5 minute intro video for the conference was just mind-boggling. And just speaking to our video guy and just how much it changed over the like 3 months that he was working on this video, the week before the conference, the features that were being released that kind of enabled him to take a first frame and last frame and not just generate video from it, but to generate video with continuity such that he could change camera angles and things like that was, anyone can generate like an 8 or a 10 second, clip, but to generate something with continuity across several minutes using AI was just something to behold. So we had a bit of fun with that. Got the final.
That's super cool.
Final audio mixed version of it at like 3 a.m. the day of the conference. So we definitely ran it.
Dude, it's incredible to me. Like I had to put together a talk, right? A single talk. And I was like, oh my word, this is like the hardest thing I've ever done. And then I think about like, this is like the third or the fourth conference that you've put together. And it's like all the details and all the stuff. Fifth conference. Holy cow, 5 years running. And so a huge round of applause to you and to all the folks with boots on the ground that helped put that thing together. I know that's a great event over there. And I'm not sure if we actually will get to talk about Laravel Live Japan coming up, but I think that'll maybe be another event that folks over on your side of the globe will get an opportunity to go to as well. But certainly I know AU has been a huge staple for people who live in that area of the place that we call home.
We're starting to see
Mother Earth.
A number of people coming from overseas as well. Like I saw, Marcel.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Marcel has been, I think, to all except the first one, maybe. But Dan Johnson popped over. Like we've had a few people from all across the world. All of the Laracon India guys came. Like all of the organizers from Laracon
That's
India.
Super cool. Yeah,
they had completed the Grand Slam of like attending. And Vishal kind of talked about, he's done the sponsor thing at Laracon US. He's done the host at hosting side of things at Laracon India, of course. Laracon Europe, he helped out. Volunteering. And so this was the first Laracon that he's actually attended as an attendee. And so it was cool just to, hear his perspective from, all of those different angles of the conference experience. And just, the fact that he and the 3 other organizers came across, they 30 hours of travel each way, 60 hours of travel return to come like just for the 2 days of the conference, really. So they were here for 2.5 days and then they left at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. on the second day. So shout out to those guys. They are truly dedicated. I don't know of
that's
many
incredible.
people that have attended, spoken at. We've had a number of people that have done that now, but to attend all 4 of them is a feat worth celebrating. But we are now 5 minutes through here,
absolutely.
so shout out to
CodeRabbit. And I will say,
this week joining us as a sponsor. I say for the month of November, but we'll leak into the month of December as well, because we had some scheduling issues earlier this month. So CodeRabbit, we're going to talk a little bit more about them and their new CodeRabbit CLI later this episode. But Jake, kick us off with some releases, would you?
Sounds good. Hey, I'm going to go to 12.37 first, and then we'll kind of go to 12.38. I'm going to go a little bit in a reverse order of our notes, but in chronological order as far as time of release. So Laravel team released version 12.37 with a new background queue driver, a factory insert method, and UC words string method, and more. Barry Huvel contributed a queue driver that defers the background jobs to the background using concurrently defer. Concurrently is something that we saw at Laracon US this year, where they talked about I think, was it this year? Was it this year? Felt like it was this year. Maybe it was last year.
It's a good question.
I'm trying to remember.
I can't answer that confidently.
Right, me either. But in any case, it uses this concurrently defer. The job is serialized and run from a PHP process. So similar to the deferred queue driver, this defers the jobs to the background, but uses concurrently defer instead of the regular defer. So that means that the job will be serialized and ran from a PHP process, which might be more suitable for heavier or longer requests. So instead of something that's going to time out, it's going to give it a little bit more time to run on because those PHP processes don't have timeouts, or they have much longer timeouts. So use cases would be similar to concurrently defer, but just simplified as a job. So you can see the deferred dispatching documentation, which is now available for more details. Andrew Brown contributed the ability to pass an optional depth parameter to file system methods. This update is backwards compatible because the default is 0, which was previously the hard-coded depth. So if you say storage files, and then you can say, give me a directory with a depth of 2, it's going to go 2 layers deep into those files it's going to be pulling back for you. And similar, you have the same option with the directories method. So if you say storage directories, again, you can pass an optional second argument of depth to that as well. So previously, the way that I would have done this is instead of doing storage files directory and then not passing a depth, what that will do by default, again, is it will only list the files that are in that specific directory that you're navigating to. That's it. No depth associated with it. If you wanted to get all of the files, you would say storage all files, and that has a infinite recursiveness. It will go through all the files in that directory and every subdirectory and give you all of those. This is a middle ground, so you can say files, directory, and then pass a depth so that you can limit the number of recursions it's going to go through as it navigates down that tree. Same thing for directories. So pretty useful there if you end up having to iterate over those or traverse those items. It's nice to have the option to specify the depth now, especially if you're going to run into a situation where it's going to be dealing with memory limits or things like that. So very cool. Andrew Brown, thank you so much for contributing that one. Luke Kuzmish contributed a factory insert method that allows performing mass insertion of models. When using a create with a large count, this will create insert records in separate insert queries. But when using the insert method, no model events are emitted. So user factory count 100 create is just going to go ahead and do each one of those individually. Whereas if you said user factory count 100 insert, it's going to do that using a mass insert of those models. So just one query rather than 100 different queries there. Okay. Timo Molbach contributed updates to the JSON schema implementation, adding support for backed enums and a format method for string types. So before, what you'd have to do is you'd have to say schema, string, one of, and then you'd pass enum and then an array of different values. So when you were setting it up, you'd have to say it's going to be specifically one of these 3 array values. But now you can just pass in the enum class itself. It'll automatically take all the cases there and allow those to be passed into the schema creation rather than having to specify them yourself. There's also a format method for string type. So when you say schema, string, some date, format, arrow, date, this is going to say that it needs to be in the format of date when it is getting put in here. And again, this is for JSON schema implementation, not just for regular database migrations here. So JSON schema implementation there. So Timo Molbach, you can check documentation or the show notes for additional information on that. Braxley contributed a UC words method to the string helper and stringable class. It's exactly as it's printed on the tin. I don't really think that needs a ton of explanation. Chinmay Parav contributed updates to the PHP Artisan about command. We know that this was released maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit more than that, but it gives you a bunch of information about the currently running Laravel application. It now has new detailed information for the cache failover, queue failover, and additional mail failover and round robin information in that now PHP Artisan about. So you can see that in the show notes as well as screenshots in those pull requests. Okay, that's it for 12.37. That was a big one. Some great updates to kick off the show. Michael, 12.38.
Before I do that, if you, like me, was confused about what and where this JSON schema thing came from, I believe it was introduced as part of the MCP functionality that has found its way into the framework since around Laracon US. So I was a little bit confused about what that was, but it's to facilitate some of that kind of stuff. So be less confused, just like me now. Laravel.
Is that the structured outputs? Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah, that's what it looks to be related to. I had to go and dig through the pull request because when it was talking about JSON schema, I was like, I don't remember seeing JSON schema support being added to the framework. So that's what I believe that is. Anyway, Laravel 12.38. This added a new with cached routes test trait and a with cached config test trait, which I'm interested to try out. Luke Kuzmish, again, contributed the with cached routes trait, which builds routes once and stores them in memory. Routes are only built once for all of the tests in your suite. I have run into issues with this in the past. I've tried to manually do this kind of stuff. It is nice that it is now part of the framework. This will speed up your tests because it's not constantly rebuilding the routes file as it goes. It basically persists it for the duration of your test run. Also from Luke Kuzmish, he contributed the with cached config trait, which does the same thing, but for your configuration. So this is like when you're running the artisan optimize command or route cache or config cache commands in your production deployments. This allows you to do that kind of stuff in production. You may potentially run into some issues with configuration that you are changing on the fly, but we have examples for all of that for you here. Razin Shek contributed an update to the model show command to prompt for input when you run the command without any arguments. So previously it would throw an error that there were not enough arguments passed. Now it will ask you which model you would like to show more for. That's it for 12.38. So sometimes we get a big chunky boy in 12.37 and sometimes we get a nice slim release. But it's nice to see that all of this kind of stuff is happening. Often it is happening in a backwards compatible way for the most part, and it enables us to keep getting new features so we don't have to wait for major releases every 12 months. Shout out to, I guess, Luke for all of the contributions that he's put in across those 2 releases, but also to everyone who contributes tirelessly to the framework we all use.
Luke Kuzmish, what a guy. Thank you, Luke. Absolutely. Okay, folks, we're going to move on to news, and the first one that we have here is a brand new book called Laravel for the Rest of Us. This launched today, November 18th, 2025. So this is a book by Pete Heslop. Here is the purpose of this book. This is not Laravel up and running. This is not how to get started with Laravel. What this is this exists to build a shared language between developers and decision makers so it can empower better communication and smoother projects. That's from the author itself. So this is going to be released worldwide starting today. It's really trying to make Laravel understandable for the non-technical readers, like founders or project managers, decision makers who work closely with developers but are not developers. So Laravel is obviously only growing in size. It's powering millions of applications across the globe. But for the people who aren't in the nuts and bolts of it, things like controllers, queues, routing, those are confusing terms. They don't understand what you're talking about. So with this book, it's very approachable, and it allows teams to communicate more effectively by sort of translating what we talk about as developers in our daily language into really simple, clear explanations for people who are talking with developers but don't exactly speak the same language. So it has a really awesome foreword by Taylor. He did a great job sort of talking about the high points, why this book is important, and why it's actually just really well done. It's beautiful as well. And it's a book that I plan on putting on my shelf. I really like how it looks, which sounds silly to say. The content's also great, but it's just beautiful. It's really well illustrated, and it looks really good. The other thing that's awesome about this project itself is that all the profits from this book are being donated to Larabels. So if you don't know what Laravel is, it's a global community that's founded by Zuzana Kunskov that supports women and non-binary folks in the Laravel and broader PHP ecosystem. So every year at the different Laracons, we try and get all the Larabels together, get them on stage, get a great photo, and that group is only growing in size. So the author here says, this project was never about the profit. It's about improving communication across our industry and then also giving back to the community, which has given us so much. So great book, Laravel for the rest of us.com. You can also find it on Amazon, I believe. So there's an electronic version that you can download immediately, but there's also a print version that you can order for your bookshelf as well. So I have the electronic version, and I'm going to be waiting eagerly for the print version as well. Really, really awesome. Check that one out.
Yeah, I ordered a copy of the print version yesterday when I saw that it was released. So I met Pete very briefly at Laracon US this year, and he seemed like a good guy. He had a lot of interesting stuff going on. So this is cool. I wonder if also, I mean, I know that the book specifically says the goal is to make Laravel understandable for non-technical readers such as founders, project managers, and decision makers. But I wonder if it's also going to be useful for people that are new to the framework and new to Laravel and development as well. So definitely might pick up a few extra copies and fling them around the place to people who might be interested in them. CodeRabbit
absolutely
raised $60 million in a Series B and celebrated with a hilarious short film. This is the one that Aaron Francis, for those of you who are listeners to the Mostly Technical podcast, teased about for a long period of time, that he had recorded a film. So he went over to, I think, wherever Steve is, he went over to, I think, Boise, and they filmed this thing. It's like a The Office style. It's a short mockumentary meets sitcom about what really happens when AI velocity turns into a PR review backlog. And it's a really great video that you can watch in just a few minutes. In their blog post, they said the problem it highlights is real. AI coding tools crank out code faster than teams can review it. Review backlogs balloon while productivity drops. Senior engineers get buried in endless PRs. Review quality is uneven, risk goes up, and you have to deal with even more issues. And suddenly, the promise of velocity feels more like a nightmare. So check out the full write-up on the CodeRabbit website and watch the video either embedded in the Laravel news post or on YouTube. We'll have links to all of that for you in the show notes.
Yeah, it's my only fear here is that Aaron gets picked up by a network and becomes a TV star, and then we lose all the wonderful productivity things that we get from him. So, Aaron, don't go too deep into that world, my friend. We need you here. Anyway, we've got Wire Live. I was not lucky enough to attend the inaugural Wire Live this year in Buffalo with Mr. Porzio and all of his buddies, his Thunk buddies. But we did send a representative from our team. Mr. Andy Hinkle was there, and he came back glowing and just raving about Livewire and how it is the future. And it is, my friends. We are all in on Livewire, all in on Caleb, and was so excited to hear how well Wire Live went. If you were not able to attend, you are in luck. All the talks for Wire Live are now available on YouTube. So bunch of speakers. I'm going to run through them real quick. Caleb Porzio, Shane Rosenthal, Ryan Chandler, Philippe Gagnez. Oh boy, Gagnez. That's a tough one. Matt Stauffer, Mary Perry, Katie Wright, Josh Siri, Jason McCurry, Daniel Colborn, Dan Heron, Andy Newhouse, Kevin McKee, and Caleb Porzio. Again, Livewire 4 Q&A. And then they also had like a hack and hang day, which is the second day. And so any folks who were able to stay around just got to hang out with all of the Livewire OGs and hack on their projects. So really, really cool. And I know we've seen a lot of benefit on our team just from having Andy go there for 2 days. And so looking forward to trying to get there next year, but also super looking forward to watching all these amazing talks by those folks listed just a second ago. Congratulations, Caleb and Thunk friends. Really proud of you guys for pulling this one off and excited to watch the videos.
The next Laracon in the rotation is Laracon EU, and early bird tickets are out for you. You may secure your spot by the 22nd of November. So you've just got a couple of days by the time this is out. But if you are ready for 2 days of Laravel magic in Amsterdam, early bird tickets for Laracon EU are now available. Whether you're a seasoned artisan or just getting started with Laravel, this is your chance to learn from experts, meet fellow developers from around the world, and immerse yourself in the heart of the Laravel community. And as a special Laravel News reader or listener bonus, if you buy the super early bird, you'll get an additional €50 off the price with the coupon Laravel-News. This comes with the Laracon EU branded cap, beanie, hoodie, mug, poster, pencil, and stickers, which is on top of the Laracon EU branded shirt and goodie bag that is included with everybody's tickets. Why go to Laracon EU? Because this isn't just another conference. It's where ideas spark and friendships form. Plus, it's in Amsterdam, and it's a different venue. We talked about this, that Laracon EU found a home in the music theater there, the big hall that they've been at the last couple of years, but they're in a different venue this year in Amsterdam. So don't wait. Early bird rate, as I said, disappears on the 22nd, or after the 22nd of November, and once tickets are gone, they are gone. You can also see all the past talks on the Laracon EU YouTube channel. We'll have links to all of that for you in the show notes.
Absolutely amazing. Boy, I would love to go to that one. Don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it happen. Yeah. It's like crazy because if you were to go to all of them, it's like, when would you actually get work done? I don't know. It's like your work would have to like sponsor you to go to do all these ones. So
Ree will not let me go to Europe without her, and taking all 4 of us to Europe is just not on the cards at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think that I'm in a similar boat where like I went to France one time as a chaperone for when I was a teacher. I actually went with the French class, and it was super fun, but I was like, I can't ever go back without taking my wife, because it was like, I saw all these wonderful, cool things that I've always dreamed of seeing my whole life, and wasn't able to share any of those memories with her. So it's like, if I ever go back to one of those cool places, got to take her with me. So anyway, I'm in the same boat, my friend. Hey, folks, CodeRabbit is sponsoring our show, and let's talk about this brand new feature that they have, which is the CodeRabbit CLI. So CodeRabbit, as we talked about earlier in the show, brings AI code reviews directly to your terminal. So we've said that developers are now able to release code and write code blazingly fast thanks to things like Claude Code, Cursor CLI, Gemini, etc. It's changing how we write code. CodeRabbit CLI brings AI code reviews directly to your terminal, which enables developers to perform self-reviews before their commits and before their PRs. So now CodeRabbit allows you to keep up with this AI-generated code by making it production ready, catching issues at that terminal velocity. The great news is that this integrates seamlessly into your existing CLI coding agent workflows. It provides instant contextual feedback exactly when developers need it. And best of all, this is free. The CLI reviews are free. Rate limits, of course, apply. You can't hammer this thing to no end, but it is free to get started, which is incredible. So catch AI slop before it ships, review uncommitted changes, catch when you are missing tests. You have one-click fixes. It's context-aware analysis, so it understands complex dependencies and your project's context. It also has, like I said, a free tier that has real value. Unlike the competitors, this is a meaningful free tier for individual developers. This is in an early access preview. It works reliably on Mac, Apple Silicon for now, so if you are interested, you should definitely check this out by installing the CodeRabbit CLI and integrating it with your favorite AI coding agent today. Thank you so much, CodeRabbit, for sponsoring the show.
Into the packages. The first package we have for you today is the Supabase package for Laravel. This integrates Laravel with Supabase services, including auth, database, storage, and real-time. Supabase is a Postgres development platform that provides a Postgres database, authentication, edge functions, and more. You can learn more about them in their docs. The Laravel package provides access to auth, database, storage, and real-time services via a service facade. You can access each Supabase service via the facade, for example, Supabase DB, auth, storage, and real-time. Main features of the package include user sign up and sign in, password reset, user management, session management, database filtering and ordering, RPC function calls, file management, WebSocket channels, JavaScript snippets for front-end integration, and more. You can get started with this package on GitHub. We'll have links to that and the documentation and all of the things for you in the show notes.
All right, folks, how many of you are out there using Laravel Horizon? Go ahead and raise your hand. If you're in the car, that's fine. Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, how many of you remember when it was released on stage at Laracon, New York? Raise your other hand. Do you remember that? I think it was in New York. Pretty sure it was. It was amazing. It was like Taylor was working on this really cool thing, and we all thought it was going to be like Laravel Cloud, first version. And I think he actually did have something, but he scrapped it and was like, nope, we're going to make this thing called Laravel Horizon. Now, what does Laravel Horizon do? Laravel Horizon basically monitors your queue jobs, allowing you to see any pending jobs, completed jobs, look at any of the supervisors that you have and sort of the coordination of those queues and things like that, which is wonderful if you are able to use Redis as your queue driver. However, if you do not, then you kind of have to figure out a different way to manage those things and watch them. And a lot of times that's just through the database, which is fine. Like you can, if you're using MySQL or something like that, that's fine. You can do that. However, now we have a solution to this. Vantage is a Laravel package that tracks and monitors your queue jobs regardless of which driver you happen to be using. So automatically records job execution history, any failures, allows for job retries, and also provides a simple web interface to view everything. Again, the main feature here is that it works with all queue drivers, database, Redis, Beanstalk, and more. Track any of those jobs from any queue driver, persisting that data in your database for long-term tracking, and then again, allow you to be able to retry and see failure details in a UI. So if you have developers who are supposed to be helping with looking at your failed jobs, one big challenge is you have to give them access to the database in order to be able to see those failed jobs. No longer is that a problem. You can just launch Vantage, allow them to see the failures, the stack trace of that failure, and then also give them the ability to retry. Really, really cool package here. Thanks, Paul Redmond, for writing that one up.
The Asset Cleaner package for Laravel safely detects and removes unused CSS, JavaScript, and other assets from Laravel applications. It works seamlessly with Laravel, Vue, React, Inertia, and Livewire. Use the package via command line to detect and delete unused assets. And when you delete assets, it will also create a backup during the deletion process. Under the hood, the package works by scanning asset directories, searches for references, only matches complete file names with extensions, and safely deletes assets with time-stamped backouts. Main features include smart detection, safe deletions, selective cleaning, detailed reports, debug mode, fast scanning, framework agnostic because it works with Mix, Vite, plain Webpack, and more, protected files, and strict matching, which helps you to avoid false positives with intelligent pattern matching. You can learn more about the package, get full installation instructions, and view the source code on GitHub. Links to all of it for you in the show notes.
Okay, you are like me, I promise. You thought to yourself, I can just whip up my own static site generator with Markdown and Laravel. This should not be difficult. I have all the tools. I can do this myself. And you have gone down this road and you either got to the point where you're like, why am I doing this myself? There's definitely got to be a tool out there that does this for me. And you would be correct. That tool is called HydePHP, not version 1, but version 2. So HydePHP is a static site generator created by Emma De Silva. It combines Laravel with Markdown for that streamlined developer experience that you're looking for. This was released in October of 2025 at the Laravel meetup in Stockholm. So there are some breaking changes from version 1, but they're all really good changes. So it introduces a range of improvements like an updated asset system, redesigned navigation API, various enhancements to make the development more efficient. And a big one for me is that it has the adoption of Vite for your front-end tooling. So it gets rid of Laravel Mix, which is great. It has been great for a long, long time. I still have one project on Mix, but Everything else is now on V. So it's faster, a more modern development experience. Again, mentioned that enhanced asset management system. It consolidates those asset APIs to provide a more intuitive interface for handling different media files that you're going to need to include in these markdown documents. The navigation system was completely rewritten. It now has Tailwind CSS version 4. So you're going to need to run the automated upgrade tool if you happen to be upgrading from version 1. But lots of quality life improvements for developers. PHP 8.4 support, improved error messages, clear exception handling, and much more. So really great package here. If you're looking for something, you just want to have something that works with Markdown. This is a great one to check out. HydePHP version 2.0. I think you can find this one at HydePHP.com, HYDEPHP.com. Check it out.
Just because you said it has PHP 8.4 support tomorrow, which will be yesterday by the time this podcast comes out. PHP 8.5 will be released. Very exciting. November 20th is the general availability for PHP 5. So get ready for that one. The Livewire Async Select package is a powerful select component for Laravel using Livewire and Alpine.js. It provides a simple Livewire component integration with two-way binding, making it an excellent component for asynchronous search of large datasets. Basic example simply has Livewire :async select. You can pass it a wire model, an endpoint where it needs to hit, and a placeholder of what it should say in the select dropdown. To go with the Livewire component is also a search endpoint that is fairly straightforward. Main features include asynchronous loading, searching and filtering, multiple selection. It is powered by Alpine.js. It is lightweight with no jQuery dependency. Styled with Tailwind CSS, has custom slots. I'm not having a very good time talking today. Custom slots, easy integration as it is a native Livewire component, and full wire model support. We can link to the documentation and examples in the show notes. As always, I sound like a broken record. Everything is in the show notes.
Everything's in the show notes. You don't need to listen to the rest of this. Just go look at the show notes. That's not true. All right, folks. This is a tie-in to what we were talking about earlier, where I sounded very unintelligent if you actually know what the JSON schema stuff that was being talked about. I was throwing that one at the wall and seeing what was going to stick. And Michael, you were absolutely correct. It was talking about LLM JSON schemas. So that's what this is. Defining LLM JSON schemas in Laravel with this package called Forerunner. So let's talk about this real quick. What are we talking about with structured outputs from an LLM? So you might know that if you're talking to Claude, if you're talking to ChatGPT, and you're just using the web interface, and you say, hey, I want you to generate some trivia questions for me, and I then want to use those in my application. Well, you are going to get 5 different answers if you prompt it the same thing 5 times, it's going to give you 5 different answers. One time it's going to give you an ordered list. The next time it's going to give you a CSV. The next time it's going to give you a JSON output. The next time it's going to give you, bullet points, or going to, ask you if you want it in a Notion document or something crazy, right? So what structured outputs do is they allow you to instruct the LLM to say, when you give me back the output that you're going to generate, I want it to look like this. So you define the structure. You can have required fields that must be filled in. You can define the type that should be returned. And it gives the LLM a much better understanding of what it is that you're looking for when you're requesting outputs, which then allows you to interact with those outputs programmatically. Because previous to having something like these structured outputs, you just kind of had to guess. You'd have it give it an instruction, and then you'd have to sort of parse the output as just like plain text. And that just wasn't super efficient. So Forerunner for Laravel is a package that provides a migration-inspired, so very similar to how we define database migrations. This is a migration-inspired API for defining JSON schemas that ensure that your LLM responses are perfectly structured every single time. So you define those structured output schemas for LLM using this very familiar migration syntax. So struct define user, here's my user schema, and I would say property string. I give it a name. I say this is the user's full name as a description. It's required. I then say property string email. I probably say property integer, age, property Boolean is active. So it feels very similar to the way that we're used to setting up migrations in Laravel. And then the above struct that we just defined there returns an array, which can then also be converted to JSON. So Again, main features are defining that structured output using a familiar syntax, has multiple field types available, string, integer, float, etc. There's helper methods that are available for commonly used field formats, has string field validation, string format validation. You can use strict mode for LLM APIs, etc., and more. So it's currently in a pre-release version, but thought it was interesting enough to share it at this point. Paul Redmond wrote that one up. Ask him if you have any questions, or feel free to check out the repo at blaspsoft/Forerunner on GitHub.
The last package that we have for you today is the TikAPI SDK, which is a PHP and Laravel package for the unofficial TikTok API. It provides a clean, scalable, and framework-agnostic wrapper for the Tik API, making it easy to fetch TikTok data via PHP or Laravel. The client supports 14 plus endpoints, including posts, likes, followers, following videos, and more. There is a list of available endpoints that will be in the show notes for you, but it works in plain PHP. It is fully integrated with Laravel via service provider and facade. It is built on top of Guzzle. It auto-loads API keys from the environment file. It supports PSR 4 and 12 code styles and includes feature tests for all the public endpoints. You can get started with this package on GitHub. Links to all of that in the show notes. I'm sure Eric will be all over this. He does love a bit of TikTok.
He absolutely does. Lastly, here we have our tutorials, friends, and Harris Raftopoulos is our tutorial master. So typically we have a lot of framework reminders that he's really good at saying, hey, and in case you did not know this was available, it is. We've got one of those, and then he's also got this series that he's working through called Laravel in Practice, which we have 3 new episodes of. I'm going to run through those real quick. Michael, I'm going to have you take the extras here, and then we'll wrap this one up, folks. Here we go. Laravel Fluent is empty and is not empty methods. So if you did not know about Fluent, you should definitely check this out. The Fluent class is a class that you can now use inside of Laravel, where you pass in an array of values or a collection, and then it gives you the ability to fluently get the pieces of data out of that and some other things as well. But you now have this is empty and is not empty methods, very similar to when you're having just a regular collection of things. So check that out. Really cool tutorial there. And then these 3 different episodes of Laravel and Practice that we have from Harris as well. Cache smart invalidation. So how can you make sure that your cache is blazing fast, but that you can also get rid of it intelligently when you need to without having to purge the entire cache? How do you do that? Well, check out Laravel in Practice episode 10. Along with that, cache pre-warming explained. So if you want your users to get a lightning fast response when they come to that first page, but you don't want the first person visiting it to incur the penalty of having to wait for that cache, you can pre-warm the cache. How do you do that? That's episode 11. And then episode 12, we have a modernizing your code with the Rector package. So if you ever inherit a Laravel project with outdated patterns, or you find yourself manually updating code across dozens of files when Laravel releases a new feature, you can automate those things with Rector. Rector PHP comes in really handy, and in this episode, Harris shows you how to use Rector to automatically modernize your Laravel code base and then also maintain consistent code quality across your code bases. This is one I'm definitely going to check out, because we've had this a couple times where we say we make a decision as a team, we're now going to do it this way. And I know Rector could definitely help optimize the process of updating all of our code bases to that new standard. I'm going to check that one out. Thank you, Harris, for writing those all up. Great work on that.
All right, and to the tutorials for you to go and do your own research on and own reading on. We've done a few on MongoDB in recent episodes. This one is authentication with Laravel and MongoDB. We've also got Cloudflare Turnstile versus CSRF tokens, written by our very own Laravel garbage man, Jason McCreary, or JMac. The practical guide to Laravel and Nova on OpenAI Codex Web. Codex, what is this? Codex is the CLI tool, right? They've also got a web tool.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna find where you're at here. Yep. Practical
private
guide to,
packages.
okay.
Yeah.
So this one, Exactly. Private packages. So you kind of have this whenever you have a situation like, I mean, even in GitHub Actions, right? How do you actually authenticate to get the Laravel Nova package downloaded when you're having to do like tests, right?
Gotcha.
So on Codex Web, yeah, how do you actually do that? And this is basically an explanation for that, I think.
Nice. JP Kaparis wrote this one up. And lastly, MongoDB transactions in Laravel both. This is written by Fahan Hassin Chowdhury. So thank you to all of our tutorial writers. Shout out to Harris. Such a smart cookie, that boy. I say boy, that man.
He is.
He's put a lot of time and effort into this Laravel in Practice series, and it's wonderful to host it here on Laravel News. So make sure you check that one out. But that's it. That's all we have for you this episode.
I want to mention one more thing here, that Cloudflare turnstile versus CSRF tokens. This has been cool. So Jason McCreary has been on a quest to improve the load times for his LaravelShift.com website. And so, ironically, I mean, if you were dealing with any issues this day because of Cloudflare, as I was, I guess it's not ironic that he was trying to get everything to work on Cloudflare. It's how things happen. Regardless, anyway, he wanted everything on LaravelShift.com to be served by the cache and never actually hit his server. So he was able to reach 90%, over 90% of caching by focusing on his highest traffic content pages. And he's documented this. If you go look on Laravel News and look at the Jason McCreary articles, he's got some great articles on how to accomplish that, some tricks and tips and little things he found that allowed him to be able to offload that to Cloudflare. The last sort of thing here is forms within a Laravel application. CSRF tokens are required to prevent cross-site request forgery. And so he's thinking, do I actually need the CSRF token? Is there something else I could do to not have to do that so I could still have this page get cached? And turns out there is. You could use Cloudflare turnstile. You don't need to pull the CSRF token or generate it, which means it can basically be a static page, and you can also serve that from Cloudflare. So Jason just keeps hacking away. One of these days, it's going to be 100, but basically he's now to 98% cached. The entire website practically is cached, which is insane. So really, really cool article there. If you're interested in serving all your stuff from Cloudflare, cache without ever hitting your server, this is a great little series to follow. Pretty cool stuff. He's actually got an upcoming course called Fast Laravel. So you can sign up for early access at fastlaravel.com as well to figure out all the stuff. He'll explain it in more detail over there. Folks, that is it. Thanks to CodeRabbit so much for sponsoring the show today, episode 248. You can find the show notes for this at podcast.laravel-news.com/248. If you liked the show, we'd really appreciate it if you'd rate it up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars would be incredible. And of course, if you have any comments, we'd love to hear from you on Blue Sky, on X, on any of the places, at Michael Dorinda, at Jacob Bennett, or at Laravel News. Folks, until next time, it has been good hanging out with you. It's good to be back. Michael, good seeing you, my friend.
You too.
See everybody in 2 weeks.